Hello, my name is Micah the Mighty, and thanks for watching my video. Today is a video that is for those players out there who have played Heart of Thorns, who've done a lot of things in Guild Wars 2, and are kind of disappointed that you're not really getting anything until the Next Living World Season 3, which won't be taking place for a minimum of at least 3 months. We're looking at the second half of 2016. So, in the interim, what is there to do in the game? You know, what else is there that we can actually do? Well, regarding Guild Wars 2, there is something that you can actually acquire. Now, for those of you wondering where I am in the game right now, I'm actually in a place called the Hall of Monuments. For those of you who didn't play Guild Wars 1, this was a location in GW1, and basically when they released an expansion called Eye of the North, they had the idea that they would be able to give people that played Guild Wars 1 rewards in Guild Wars 2. And these are some of the rewards that we can actually get. Things like a juvenile black... this is the only place that you'll be able to get this. The old Zunlai chests are classic. That's where you'd have... That was basically your bank. The juvenile Black Widow spider as well. And you've got things like... these are the characters that were actually in Guild Wars. These people like Stacey Magelson and Micah Ferguson. These were actually vendors in GW1. And you can see here, it's a limitless supply of runes. And same here as well. This was another vendor as well. So this was quite interesting. There used to actually be a portal here and a portal around the other side. Obviously, there's now an Azura gate. But we can come through here, and this is what I wanted to show you. And this is what I actually... you know what? I actually had a couple of requests from people talking to me about GW1. And I feel right now is a fantastic time for players who've never played GW1 to go back and play it. So you see here we've got a juvenile rainbow jellyfish. This is an underwater pet we can actually have. But we've actually got Kim's the Historian. If we can actually get onto there, there we go. So this is a guy, again, he's a character in GW1. And you can see here, they belong to a hero who earned all these relics during their life. And basically, this is me. This is Mike from Guild Wars 1. So let's actually have a look, show me my legacy. These are all items that you can actually get from rewards, or from doing achievements in Guild Wars 1. So you actually get the Heritage armor set. So these are all items that you can get. That's basically an armor set that you can only get through Guild Wars 1 achievements. We get a gnarled walking staff. This is actually a pretty cool... I like this staff. It's, you know, it's kind of interesting. I have that on a couple of my characters. Living short bow as well. Looks good for a Sylvari if you actually just look at the weapon only. Nice short bow there. A miniature orange tabby cat. I actually have that, multiple of those. But this, for me, is one of the main reasons. The Fiery Dragon Sword, an epic sword. If you want to get that sword, it's a lot of achievements to do in GW1. I also like the Aegis Diamond Shield. I used to have that on one of my characters in GW1. A Baroque Mask, not really that fantastic. You got a dagger, which is pretty cool, the Centurion's Claw. A wheel-lock rifle, which is like an old-style, you know, sort of pretty impressive, actually, design. You got an Orion Baby Chicken, Wayward Scepter. I like this one. This is kind of a cool scepter. The Sea Thunder Pistol, it's not too bad. And then you've got things like the Heavenly Braces, which look like that. You can even have, I think you've got the Fiery Gods Braces as well, which are a bit flame-like. We've got Deldrimor Mace. This is a pretty heavy mace that we've got there. The Chimeric Prism Focus. The Itis Longbow. I'm guessing that. Don't really use that. It's pretty bland, that one. The Fellblade's pretty sweet. I use that a lot because it's got this sort of black smokiness that goes on. Kind of reminds me of Silent Hill, the Silent Hill movie with the guy who had that massive sword. That's what that reminds me of. Icebreaker, a nice intricate icy hammer. You've got a torch, flaming beacon. This is what I used to run on one of my characters. Sticking an axe, I have that on one of my characters, on one of my rangers. I quite like the look of that. And then a Mountain Cool Warhorn. I actually really like this design on this Warhorn. For me, it's one of the better Warhorns in the game. And these are the rewards you can actually get from Guild Wars 1. So I've actually acquired all these. But I get a lot of people asking me if I'm wielding a Fiery Greatsword, which I don't actually have on me right now with the sword. If we actually look, got hammer, Warhorn, mace, there we go, a shield. The sword I actually have is the Dwayne sword. So just to demonstrate, this is, if I swap and go to my wardrobe, so let's actually have a look, and we'll change the sword to a fiery greatsword. So here we go. So this is what it looks like. It's pretty cool, and for me, it's one of the best rewards from playing Guild Wars 1. It is an epic sword, and it's really worth going for. So for me, that's what I really like this sword, and you can get that. So I'll go back on my greatsword. Now, how can we get this? Well, this is where I'm recommending for you guys, if you are a kind of bit bored with Guild Wars 2, there is another game you can play in the meantime that still has the feel of Guild Wars, and it is Guild Wars. And here we are. Welcome to Eye of the North. This is Eye of the North in Guild Wars 1, and this is the Tyria. This is the continent of Tyria. You can see, obviously, you know, we've got the old Lion's Arch there. So if you want to look up maps, there's some really good maps explaining, you know, the difference. We've got a little dry top there, and this is obviously where roughly we're going with the raid. Now, I know a lot of people out there really aren't big fans of the raid, but this is a fun way. If you've not really got the achievements, you can see some of the stuff that you actually get in Guild Wars 1. The capes, for example, how epic are those? Obviously, the graphics aren't going to be as good. You know, it's over a 10-year-old game, and the gameplay is a little bit different. Obviously, there's no dodging, which is kind of weird to get used to again. You can actually, it's point and click to move around the map. But for me, I get very nostalgic about Guild Wars 1. And what is, you know, the benefit of Guild Wars 1? Well, first off, you actually get 2 professions. You can get, you know, you can see here, I'm a ranger and a ritualist. But if we actually look, these are the titles. You can see here that this is actually one of my other characters. But by getting a number of these titles, you can actually get the weapons and the armor sets related that I showed you earlier. So these are the different things. You've got faction, and there's a lot of different stuff. But you start off as a human. You start off in this area here. This is Old Ascalon. This is Ascalon City. This is in Guild Wars 2. This is where obviously the ghosts are. And this is a very different area to what Guild Wars 2 is. This for me, it was the first the first MMO that I actually played. And it was a really big, interesting experience. I really didn't know much about it. And one of the resounding memories is I didn't really be able to follow the story well. So the first mission you actually have is the Great Northern Wall, which is different to Guild Wars 2 in the fact that you would have in the top right hand corner. This you actually have missions, and it's very well defined where the missions are. And I remember ended up in a little outpost called Picken Square, and just being stuck there for about a week doing quests around here. And you got obviously the Diessa Lowlands, which, you know, you have the equivalent in Guild Wars 2. But yeah, this was a lot of fun, and I actually enjoyed playing this area. You know, it's very barren. The music is epic by Jeremy Soule, who obviously did the original Guild Wars 2 music. And you'll find a lot of interesting things going on, a lot of different creatures. But again, the gameplay is a bit different. You know, if we actually go to Ascalon City, and just to let's actually go to Sudlak Sanitarium. One of the things where you have heroes that actually accompany you. So it is, you know, you are going around in a group of you. So it's kind of cool. You actually get heroes playing a few other campaigns, because there are multiple campaigns. The first one was called Prophecies, and this is where it all started. And you get this, and you got NPCs here. You got your storage. So we can actually go and have a look at my storage here. And if we can get around, come on, let's speak to the storage. Show me my storage account. So here we go. This is our bank. You know, you've got all these different items in here. I'm not really going to go through exactly what all of them in. You've got like a salvage kit still, and you know, sort of runes, very equivalent, and then you've got material storage as well. But it was all instanced. It wasn't really, you know, how Guild Wars 2 is, which is very, you know, you can see players out in the world. This is the only place, if you actually look here, these outposts and missions, these are the only time you'd ever see other players. When you actually go out into, as you can see here, this is an instance, you actually don't see any other players. It's just you. However, there are a few caveats to this. You actually have an instance whereby that basically these enemies don't respawn. So you will not get respawning enemies. You'll just get, you'll be able to clear them. And that's one of the good things. You've got things like Vanquisher titles. So you can see here, you've got barrage. This is still a skill in the old game as well. Because I'm level 20, I'm fighting low level characters. Very easy to actually kill a lot of these. Obviously, if you notice, the numbers are a lot less because this is something that was deliberate. You know, they bumped up the numbers for Guild Wars 2 just to make sure that you're doing a hell of a lot more damage. But this is the old Ascalon. This is Ascalon as it appeared in Guild Wars 1. And if we go to Serenity Temple, again, this was no more. There are no waypoints in the game. You actually go to outposts. And so, if you are someone who likes and enjoys playing on there by themselves, this is a great game for you to play. It's got some fantastic storytelling. It's got some decent rewards that you can actually enjoy. The amount of content in the game right now is phenomenal, and there's still the player base obviously is not anywhere near what Guild Wars 2 is. However, it's still a decent amount of people. You can go into the main cities. The main cities here will be, you've got Lion's Arch, which is this outpost here, and then you've got a couple on the different continents. Now, people shouldn't be too intimidated by different continents. All it is, Guild Wars Prophecies was the first mission that came out. So this was this area here. We have Ascalon. Then we had the Shiver Peaks, which was this area here. You can see basically it's very, very square or linear how the actual maps work. And then you go into Crater, and this is obviously Crater where you go through. And then you've got, as you're going through the missions, you don't need to even cover some of these maps. And then you go into the Maguma jungle and doing the missions. Now the missions can take quite a long time, particularly the end missions. But generally, it's a lot of fun. I had a lot of enjoyment out of this. You can see as we go around, we end up at Sanctum K. We end up going to the Amnoon Oasis. We do the Crystal Desert, which is a lot of fun. The missions, that was where it started to pick up, get really hard. And then you go back, and then you get back to Dropnot's Forge and do some more missions. Thunderhead Keep, for me, really, really fun mission. The Iron Mines of Molajune, very interesting mission as well. And obviously you got things like the Deljamal War Camp. That's where they added their first content up, with Sorrow's Furnace. And this is obviously, sort of new content that they brought in. And then once that happened, you ended up going to the Fire Island chain and completing the mission with Hell's Precipice being the last mission. So there's a lot of stuff in the game. This is just the very first campaign. It was an epic campaign. Now, for those of you, I see people will be wondering, well, what's all this extra content? You can see up here, there's other things going on here. This is the Eye of the North expansion. So you've got Gunner's Hold, and then we actually have Umbral Grotto. There is Ratasum. I didn't actually do it on this character particularly because it wasn't really one I was focusing on. But this is obviously things like, this is where all the Char were. This is the Char homelands. And then you had like Ratasum over here. And then you had more like Gad's encampment. So I think Ratasum was over there. So there it is. Ratasum's down there. Got my map confused. So Ratasum was down there. You've got obviously things like Arbor Bay. That is actually where the Silvari, you'll see if you actually visit this place with the Eye of the North expansion. They actually have the origins of the Silvari. You'll see the Ventari actually in this map with another another character, Ronin, who actually stole the seed, and you'll start off and they're actually tending the tree. But yeah, you've got Ratasum, so this is what Ratasum actually looked like. We can actually go there now and actually have a look at what Ratasum looked like in Guild Wars 1. But I don't want to go and spoil it too much, but it did look very, very different. I mean, this is obviously 250 years before, and you would expect that a lot of development building up from the ground up. And so this would have got really, really massive. So you've, again, several areas that they brought in with Eye of the North, and you had the Norn area, you had the Char area, and you also had the Azura area. And this is where you had meant a couple of other different characters. They did release a few other Living World type updates called The War in Crater, which took place majority in Crater, oddly enough, but mainly around the Lion's Arch area as well, and like Nebo Terrace, Beetleton. You can look at these maps and think, oh, okay, you've got the Kessex Peak, that was, related to the Kessex Hills, because obviously Lion's Arch is there, that's roughly where the Kessex is. It's really cool. But then they actually brought in, if you played Prophecies, if you play the mission, it would take you, if you played Prophecies from the get-go, I mean, there are a substantial amount of missions. I mean, you can tell here by the titles. We actually have a list of the titles, actually, if we scroll down. And I think it should be in here, so it usually was, unless they've removed it. It's been a while since I've actually logged into Guild Wars 1. But it actually did tell you. So you got a Loner Garden track. So that's the third expansion. Tyrion. Okay, so here we go. There are 25 missions in Prophecies, and some of them you can take less. It takes like 10 minutes. Some may take half an hour. So you get a lot of gameplay out of this. And then you've got the Cantha, which is the second expansion, and that again is the amount of missions is a lot less. Only 13 missions. It's a lot quicker for actually progressing in that particular campaign. So if you are wanting to rush through this and take your time, the Prophecies one's a lot bigger. It's probably the biggest campaign that they did in Guild Wars 1. Then they released Cantha, which was a bit smaller, and it was kind of a niche. For me, wasn't their greatest expansion. And then they brought out Ilona with the Nightfall expansion, and this was 20 missions, and this was a really in-depth, well-told story. And for me, one of the actual recommendations would be to play the Nightfall campaign. You can get the Guild Wars 1 missions relatively cheap, and it would definitely be something you should consider doing. And then obviously you got Eye of the North, which is the smaller expansion, just based on you could get it for any of the 3 games. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go pop quickly to Quieten Center. So this is the main city you actually have in Cantha, and you'll actually see a lot of extra players. You can see here, this is the mini map. You can draw on that. But this is Cantha. You've got obviously the sort of a main area. If you created a character on Cantha, you'd start in this on the island, and then what would happen is if you played the first game Prophecies and your character came from there, they would arrive at Quieten Center, and then you'd have a point called Vizinu Square, and you'd actually see it in brackets foreign quarter, where you'd actually have a Vizinu Square local quarter, and the local quarter would be for those characters who were started on the Xingjie Island, and they would then have a mission called the Vizinu Square local quarter. And if you entered in the foreign quarter, what would be cool is that you could actually meet another player who had a character in Cantha, and you'd meet up together and you'd complete Vizinu Square together. It was a really cool idea. It's I think one of the few times very few times they've actually done a co-op mission. And then they introduced a few other features with factions. Obviously, you pick a side. You go blue for the Kurziks, red for the Luxons, and your guild could actually claim places. So you can see here, people are still claiming guild, locations here. And so this was a very interesting. You actually had challenges as well. So you could play the Jade Quarry or Fort Aspenwood. Funny enough, you've obviously the Jade Quarry and Fort Aspenwood, both servers on Guild Wars 2. And I know this because J-Quarry is one of the top NA tier servers, and Fort Aspenwood is a tier 2 server. Playing currently against Tarnish Coast, which is my one. And the story here was okay. For me, it wasn't the best map and best campaign. But we'll pop on and we'll go to Kamadan. Had a nickname in Guild Wars 1. This was Spamadan because everybody would try and sell their items. And this was one of the funny things. You can see here, I'm actually in America District 2. There are districts. So much in the way that Guild Wars 2 has mega servers, Guild Wars 1 has mega servers as well. However, you actually get... God, you still get gold spammers. You actually get districts in which you can actually move around. And there are certain events where you'd actually end up with hundreds of districts, particularly the festivals, and people could actually select a particular district. It was really cool. Now you'll notice a lot of things going on in chat. WTS being willing to sell, WTB being willing to buy. Why is this going on? Well, there was no trading post. So people would come to Kamadan and pick their items and sell them because it was easy to sell to other players. Not only that, you could actually trade with them. You've got the little trade icon here. You didn't actually have to mail anybody. You could just trade, and you could actually set it up and agree to trade something. So that's how it would do. You've got all these items going on, and you've got other NPCs around. So this is a loner. And you would actually start here. You can see I haven't done some of these missions because they were not needed to, because I wasn't a local character. This is like generally for the characters based in this particular map, continent. And we got here, we got the Sunset Spear Sanctuary, and then we did a few other missions, and we go around the map. We actually get to see one of the best places for me. I love, this area here, the Garden of Severine. You've got the Kodash Bazaar. This is Vabi. Vabi was very much, as this word here says, resplendent. It was beautiful, very, very grand, and, you've got the Grand Court of Sabolka. A really, really well-designed map, and it was really, really fun. And then you've got things like you come into the Shattered Ravines. This is, sort of the equivalent, where you basically can't go into some of these areas because you will just die immediately. And so you actually you get to transform and become a jungle or a Janundu, where you can travel through these the sulfurous wastes is what they were called, and travel around. And then you actually got to go into Abaddon's realm through here. But I'm not going to spoil too many things for that. All I will say is it's a massive map, and again, 20 missions. You're talking, if it roughly takes you about half an hour per mission, so you've got a lot of gameplay in there, at least 10 hours of gameplay, and that's getting to missions. There's a few other little quests going on. And so, Guild Wars 1 for me is a phenomenal way for players that have not played Guild Wars 1. If you are looking at trying to get some of those skins, as I mentioned at the beginning of my video, this is a phenomenal way to actually try and, get some of those skins. Why not, there's nothing else to play for. You might as well wait around. You could just go and play another game. Well, why not go back to Guild Wars 1? Guild Wars 1 is still a fun game. It's kind of easy. It's a little bit slower than Guild Wars 2 because there's not dodging. You actually have, much like the Revenants, you have energy and you've got health. You actually have heroes. You've got a hard mode and an easy normal mode, so you can actually really ramp up the difficulty. So this is a low-level area, but you can actually make it hard mode, and they're all the same levels, all higher level enemies. But what else have we got? Well, you can actually move around the UI. So if we press F11, you can actually move things around the map, around the screen, which is much different to how Guild Wars 2 works. You've got a damage monitor, mission progress, experience bar. You can move all of these items around on your map, on your heads-up display. You can actually have different skills. You can all assign different hotkeys, the sound, graphics, etc. in general. These are all what you can actually have here. But what else is there? Well, we can actually have a look at our menu. You've got the hero tab, which I've already shown you. We actually have inventory, skills and attributes. So we've got to here. It's very, very simple. You can pick a different secondary profession. You can retrain and create another secondary profession. You'll notice the numbers in blue. Why are they in blue? Well, it's because I actually have runes on there. So you can see here I've got a minor runes and a superior beast mastery rune in that armor set, and that actually means that my beast mastery is maxed up. So you can see here your beast rank in beast mastery is normally 12, but it's currently modified to 16. And then you get heroes that you can actually equip as well. So again, if we actually look at my heroes, you can see I've put armor in on my heroes as well. And so that's something you can do, and you can get all these different skills. You're allowed one elite skill, and you can move them anywhere on the task on your bar. These numbers aren't particularly assigned. So if we actually press again K, you can see move them around very, very easily. You can pick different ones. You are limited. You can't change them out of combat. You have to come back to an outpost before you can actually change these skill sets. So that's something that you might want to consider as well. But there are a lot of skills in the game, much, much more than Guild Wars 2. And so it might take you a little while to actually get used to all the different skills that are available, but the tutorials are very, very good indeed. So there are a number of different things. Not only that, if we actually come here, this is the builds. You actually have this little icon. Oh, we actually have template codes. You can create templates. Yes. So you've got all these different templates that you can actually have. I don't actually have anything. You can save to a template if you want. And so if you're in a ranger and you want to change to a different build, perhaps, for example, you want to change to a marksmanship build or a wilderness survival build, then you can just go in here and load it up. Relatively simple. So that's something that you might, there are things in Guild Wars 1 that actually are not here in Guild Wars 2. and that's something that you'd actually get to see and actually enjoy. But what else have we got in Guild Wars 1? Well, let's actually have, we got the mission map, we got map travel, quest log. Quests, that's right, we get quests. These are all the quests you get. It's very, very traditional MMO. You can see here all the quests that you can actually get. So this is something that was in Guild Wars 1 and obviously prevalent in a lot of MMOs. And Guild Wars 2, they kind of did away with it. And so that was something that, it doesn't exist in Guild Wars 2. There is one more place I would like to take you, because if you get a bit stale, well then, what else can you travel to? Well, you can travel to the Grand Temple of Balthazar. And what they actually have in this particular area is daily quests. So you actually have your dailies. And this was here, you've got the Quieten mission. So what they would do is you'd get copper coins, you get gold from that, you get experience, you'd actually get a bounty, so you'd have to go and kill a enemy boss that was out in the world somewhere, and then you'd get combat, which is like a PvP area, like an arena. And so you'd go here, and then you could actually get these coins and transfer, trade them for rewards. So you can see here, you got different copper ones, you could actually exchange them for a silver coin, and then you get silver rewards, and then you can change that for a gold coin, and then you got gold rewards. So they're all very well explained, and you've got lots of things going on. And this is obviously where PvP combat took place. And you can see here, you actually get your name comes up when you actually earn a big title. And there's lots of endgame content as well. We haven't even covered things like the underworld. You can see here as well, look, championship trophies. You got all the PvP series trophies are all listed here, and the PvP is still going on, very relatively good. So I actually was not a big fan of PvP in Guild Wars 1. I didn't really get into it. So you can actually go back and experience PvP in Guild Wars 1. Just check it out, see what it's like. You can actually use it as a comparison. The way I look at things is you've got 3 months to pretty much kill. If you're not going for anything in Guild Wars 2 right now, you could try another game. You could try Black Desert Online, try Blade and Soul. But if you've never played Guild Wars 1, give it a go. It's going to be relatively cheap, cheaper than things like Blade and Soul, like Black Desert Online. It's pretty much bug-free because it's been out for 10 years. You've still got a decent-sized population. You can go through and do the whole thing on your own. You can get rewards that you can use in Guild Wars 2. And generally it's an experience. You'll learn a lot of lore if you're interested in that side of things. Because if you notice that the recent raid is bringing a lot of lore back from Guild Wars 1 to do with the White Mantle, and you can experience that firsthand in Prophecies. So for me, and my recommendation, I've had a lot of people actually message me and said they wanted a video, discussing the benefits of Guild Wars 1 and, why should players play Guild Wars 1. Why, you've got this period of no content coming out in Guild Wars 2. When I say no content, I'm talking PvE content that isn't the high-end, that only the elite play, such as raids. But this is something you should play. It was the first game that I really got involved with, and it was for me that it's one of the games. Again, it's a game that you actually buy and you can dip in and out. There are times when I didn't play for 3 or 4 months, and I came back and I started again. It's one of those games you can do that. It's not a game that you have to pay to worry about. It is a game that you can come back to. You've got different bows that you can actually. I didn't even mention about the different weapon swaps that you've got here. There's just so much that you can actually do in Guild Wars 1. In Guild Wars 2, they did shy away of a few of these areas. But if you are looking for just some content that you can dip in and out of, Guild Wars 1 is a game that you should definitely consider. I'd like to hear some of your guys' thoughts. If you haven't played Guild Wars 1, are you interested in playing it? I fully understand if there is no interest, but I would also recommend that people give it a go. It's relatively cheap. I don't know how much it is in America. I'm guessing it'd be less than $10 for Prophecies. But you could probably buy like all the expansions together now. And I would definitely say that if you're getting a bit tired of Guild Wars 2, if you're looking for something else out there, I've played Blade and Soul, I've played Black Desert Online, and for me, Guild Wars 1, apart from maybe the graphics, Guild Wars 1 is still a good game to play. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, so please leave comments in the section below, and thanks for watching my video. See you on the next one.